created by the Commonwealth, led by the United Kingdom, the Youth Development Program, an interministerial initiative of the Commonwealth Youth Ministers Conference many years ago. As a member of the staff, while greeting all the members here, the Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Dr. Atula Samarakul, Dr. Tushari Gamage, who was also, today she's the Dean of the head of the Social Studies Department, but she joined as a coordinator of the youth program. And Dr. Shant Abesina, I should say the first PhD in doctoral studies, PhD in youth policy studies, probably in Sri Lanka, in the university system. And the cheerful, pleasant, committed, passionate members, youthful members who are seated in the front rows, who look after the community youth and community development program. Now, in addressing you, my task is to talk about the learner responsibilities. In talking about learner responsibilities, it is nothing but right that I tell you some things that the Commonwealth wanted the countries that subscribed to this great initiative, the Youth Development Program, to remember. Those who came into the program were very clearly reminded of certain fundamentals. The fundamentals relate to the Commonwealth values, without which the program will be barren. What did I say? The program will be barren without Commonwealth values. Secondly, that it is a professional degree program. Like in the case of medicine and engineering and architecture and accountancy. It is not just an academic degree program, but a professional degree program. So as learners, what should you essentially remember relating to Commonwealth values that made the program possible? Why did the Commonwealth, led by Queen Elizabeth at the time, she presides over the Commonwealth, why did they think about this? Very clearly, the crown colonies, the former crown colonies of the British imperial government, when they received democratic governance and government from the British, were not quite prepared, though they were receiving freedom and independence. The people were not quite prepared. And the rulers are a mirror reflection of the people to embrace democratic values. Democratic values are quite different from autocratic, authoritarian values. The need for equality and peaceful coexistence was central to the task to be fulfilled by the Commonwealth Youth Program, inculcating and indoctrinating youth with democratic values. The need for parallel perspectives, not one unilateral imposition of a perspective, multilateral perspectives. Unilateral imposition of a standard pushed down the throats of the people was not to the liking of the Commonwealth Youth Program and its creators. They very clearly understood that these societies should ensure that young people specifically will understand the beauty of equality and equal participation as dignified citizens. Equality and equal participation as dignified citizens. I really do not know, even today, whether the people have understood what the Commonwealth intended after we received independence in 1948, whether the people understood what this meant. Because we have, when you look at the 1970, the first Republican Constitution and the second Republican Constitution of 1978, we see qualities that are not quite in harmony with the Commonwealth values. Equality and equity. For instance, even matters connected with culture and religion, specifically religion. Well, we believe that a particular religion should be the state religion of Sri Lanka. Certainly, it is not the case with countries that embrace democratic values like the Indian Republic. India very clearly commits itself, having been the authors and the founders of the great philosophies, Hinduism and Buddhism, understand very clearly that all what the Constitution can guarantee is freedom of worship. And the Hindi does. Freedom of worship. It is a country with more than 70% Hindus, but Hinduism is not the state religion of the Republic of India. Now, you should ask yourself, the Christian, as young people, whether we have subscribed to similar values, whether a particular religion is considered the state religion. Here in this audience, there are Muslims, maybe there are members of the Adivasika community, people coming from the Adivasika community, maybe there are Hindus, there are Christians, there are Buddhists, people without a religion, people who are atheists. Well, the United States, which is not a Commonwealth country, but influenced by values of the UK, United Kingdom, understood also that equity and equality and equal dignity means that with regard to religion, freedom of worship is what it should believe in. Christianity is not the state religion of the United States of America, as much as Hinduism is not the state religion of the large democratic nation, India. Now it's just an eye-opener as learners to understand that you commit yourself, you need to passionately commit yourself to the principles, grand principles of equity, equality, and peaceful coexistence and a dignified citizenry after so many years of independence in Sri Lanka. There had been an uprising. That uprising reminded the people that there has to be a new social, economic, political, cultural, and moral order. What does it mean? Is a question, fundamental question, that you need to address as members of the youth community of Sri Lanka. Most of you are youth and going to be catalysts, transformation agents. Catalyst, the term catalyst is change agent. Change agent, transforming, relating to paradigm shift, the current thinking, the current framework of thought need to be is what? In the context of the Youth and Community Development Program, very clearly in search of greater, dignified, democratic governance and values in this country. There is an obligation for you to fulfill in that respect. I said professional, second matter. Have you thought about Commonwealth values? A professional degree. In sociology of professions, which is also my specialty as a PhD in sociology, very clearly talks about attitudinal and structural attributes of professions. Attitudinal attributes talk about a sense of calling about the field. A sense of calling about the field. Not every person will have the mind required for a professional occupation. You ask yourself the question, whether with a mind and a heart and a mind, you had the sense of calling to be empowerment agents for you. Have you got that sense of calling? Is it just another degree program that you can enroll for in the university system? Well, it also talks about self-regulation. That we cannot, attitudinal attributes of professionalism talks about self-regulation. You regulate yourself as a professional to stand for what is right and what is wrong in line with democratic values is something that you need to consider very, very thoughtfully and carefully. A sense of calling about the field and self-regulation are two attitudinal attributes that you need to think about clearly. Now, as for structural attributes, the Open University Department of Social Studies very clearly functions as a training, professional training department for youth empowerment. Professional training is an structural attribute of professions. The code of ethics, as against the attitudinal attribute of self-regulation, code of ethics for youth is a structural attribute. How youth should conduct themselves with a sense of responsibility in the midst of other youth. Obviously, as I said earlier, you cannot be autocratic-minded when you deal with youth. You need to respect. You need to earn their respect. You need to attentively listen to them. Listen to them and see to what extent you can mold their attitudes if they are in fact autocratic in their orientation. So, those are very important things. And then the professional association is a structural attribute. I think Dr. Shanta Singer has done a lot of work talking to the Ministry of Youth Affairs that learners who graduate with a youth degree need to have a professional association governed by qualities, attributes, and traits connected with the youth profession. Medical personnel, doctors belong to a professional association. Lawyers belong to a professional association. The accountants belong to a professional association. Architects belong to a professional association. And you, the youth empowering personalities today, you are committed to professionalism in youth work, and you will, when you graduate, become members of the Professional Association of Youth Workers. The way forward and the future direction of the youth profession is in the hands not of the government, but of the youth who qualified themselves in this field of youth empowerment and community development. So, A final point, I cannot talk about all structural and attitudinal attributes relating to professionalism. I talked previously about Commonwealth values. Remember that English language is very, very important for you to be locally and globally competitive. The task before you is to address needs of the country and to be adequately knowledgeable and develop your personalities in such a way that you can influence the elitist policymakers in this country. Elites are power holders, with enormous status and power. Sometimes they do not even remember from where they came from. You need to be equipped with the international language of English in order to influence people in high places. And also, for instance, you were talking to the Commonwealth Secretariat with regard to what the youth profession needs and further guidance. You need to be people with adequate persuasive skills with regard to the international language of English. So, this is an opportunity for you to develop your English language skills also. You can be very fluent in your mother tongue, but understand the limitations of your mother tongue. So, I only wish that you will be transformational agents through the youth and community development program, and always be pleasant people, not unpleasant people, pleasant, prasanna, not aprasanna, pleasant people, always be progressive people. Dyunuwa dhanavana, dyunuwa vanasana is pratigami. Do not ever be dyunuwa vanasana, dyunuwa dhanavana. Always believe in taking people from their own situation of social, economic, political, cultural, moral poverty to yet unknown situation of social, economic, political, cultural, and moral prosperity. That is the central task of youth workers. And as learners, if you can remember some of the things that I said, I think you will be better off. Thank you very much, and more strength to you in order to shine and shine and shine. Thank you very much.